Hi, everybody. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mark Weinberg. He's Rick DeLuca. We asked you guys a little bit earlier tonight with the Storms Prediction Center adding a 2% chance of a tornado. Do you want to see a video tonight? Overwhelmingly, we got a lot of yeses, and I can understand why, Rick. This has been a year with active severe weather.
And I know you hear 2%, you're like, 2%? How can you
more
get,
than 0%.
it's a very, very low percent. But tornado with any sort of level of threat is something that we need to address, see if it's worth it, is it legitimate? And that's our goal here tonight, to kind of help you out what to expect on Tuesday. Because, Mark, the pattern is going to get far more active in the coming days.
Super active for this time of the year. So for those that are joining on my Facebook page, Rick's Facebook page, the WDRB News Facebook page, please do us a favor, share the video. So right now on my page, we have 282 people watching. So if you have 100 people that follow you, you share the video. That means 28,000 people who may be interested about whether there's severe weather tomorrow, why the Storms Prediction Center is noting a tornado threat. They may then be able to jump in on the video, get the information they need. And so you kind of see why we always ask for those shares.
And Felicia's already doing it, and so is Rocky. Thank you so much.
So these are important. Please share the video if you have any friends or family that might be interested. And for those joining us on X and on YouTube, we appreciate you guys jumping in here as well. If you have any friends that might be interested, send them a text. Let them know. Jump in on the video. Mark and Rick are talking about that tornado threat. So, Rick, we have severe weather risks in our area, and I think that it's always important to give a reference point. So, earlier this year, we've had tornado threats. This is not our only chance of the year. For reference points, 2011, a monster tornado outbreak in Alabama, Mississippi, all the way through the Carolinas. If I recall that one correctly, I think it was a 50 or 60%. You're like, 60%? There were tornadoes all over the place. That should have been much higher than 60%. I give you that reference point because remember, if we put out a probability, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to see them, number one. And number two, that probability is basically within 25 miles of a point. So, Rick, if you say there's a 2% chance of tornadoes, that doesn't mean there's a 2% where you live.
No.
That's if you're to draw a circle around your house in a 25-mile area, that's a 2%.
That is.
And that means there's a 98% chance.
98 that it won't happen. But that's just how the Storm Prediction Center designs and also makes these forecasts. It's a point forecast and then that radius out around it. It's a 2%. And Mark, that's tornado. Just to be clear, we also have a 5% for some damaging winds and a 5% for some hail. Is it a high-end threat?
No.
It's higher than 2, but it's still lower end.
And I will mention, the Storms Prediction Center has 5 risk categories, and it has been something that's bothered me. So you say, Mark, Rick, am I going to see severe weather tomorrow? And the Storms Prediction Center's answer to that is, well, let me give you 5 categories. And you're like, wait a minute, no. Are we going to see severe weather tomorrow? It is unfortunate. We think that maybe a 3 or 4 category system would probably be better. Like, I like the green,
Right.
yellow, red kind of idea.
Because truthfully, it's not a yes or a no.
Right.
That's just the name of the game. I know some people want a yes or a no, but there's so many conditions that can cause that. So we have to have some sort of level of breakdown. But like you're saying, 5 seems extreme. And you could probably condense that a little bit.
And the low, so that doesn't even include the general thunderstorm risk, which would make it 6. So here's the problem. This marginal risk that the Storms Prediction Center now utilizes has become basically, I don't think there's going to be severe weather, but if there is, you can't say I didn't say it. And it's become kind of the boy who cried wolf of meteorology. It's just the reality.
It's why we don't show it on TV.
We won't show it on TV, and we're not alone in not showing it on TV. There's many stations that don't because we just feel that it has become quite the disaster in that it says something might happen, and you get so many of these that never produce anything in our area. So with that said, again, if you're just joining us, please share the video and let's jump into this discussion. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to talk about our situation and what we have here. So Rick alluded to this, but Rick, the green here, if you notice on the top, we don't even show that color. So explain this one.
Okay, so we have basically within the Storm Prediction Center, there are 5 different categories outside of the general thunderstorm. This one starts at the green, what you're seeing, marginal. And then on top of that, we have our slight risk. And then on top of that, we have our hands. And then we have our higher risk, which those are reserved for the most extreme weather events. And looking at these risks, I mean, we really like to show you kind of what's happening around, using slight, enhanced, high risk. But I feel like it's nice to kind of just think of it, if you go into like a drive-through, small, medium, large, like kind of extra large, keep it kind of simple, because the wording themselves, first of all, and like slight to enhanced can sometimes,
some people think enhanced means higher than moderate.
which is exactly how it works. So I feel like the wording itself is already confusing enough. And then on top of that, having so many categories. So yeah, we are at the lowest level category
of severe
for tomorrow. And that's the green that you see here on the map.
So damaging winds, some small hail, or a spin-up's not out of the question. So from here, we're going to show you the damaging wind threat. So Storms Prediction Center has a 5% probability of damaging winds. I know you're thinking, Mark, that's not a high probability. We agree on that. So that's a 5% chance within 25 miles of a point. And the argument here is it necessary? We'll go through the reasoning, why they did what they did, and our analysis. And that's one of the things I love about the lives, Rick. The lives have become such a distinct part of what we do around here, because it's in TV, we get about 4 minutes. And I know that's what a lot of people want, but I also know there's a segment of people that want more, and that's what we do in these lives. So this here, Rick, is the tornado probability. It is the lowest that they can possibly issue. This is a 2%. This goes from around Paoli, through around all of Louisville, through around southern Shelby County, and then let's say who it includes. Paoli, this includes you in the English area, includes you in Corydon, includes around Salem, includes Louisville, includes Brandenburg, Hardinsburg, includes Litchfield, includes you in the E-Town area, Munfordville. It includes you in the Campbellsville area, Greensburg, Columbia, Springfield. This includes you in Bardstown, includes you in Shepherdsville, Mount Washington, and then goes through around, let's say, the Taylorsville area. So this is the 2% tornado probability. And I think because a 5% chance of damaging winds doesn't really register high. A 2%, even if it's any percent of tornado, registers higher.
Yeah, it just the word tornado. It definitely gets your attention more than wind or hail. If one of those two occur, you might be all right. But there's tornado, just for obvious reasons and for good reasons. Get your blood boiling up a little bit more. And I understand why.
Especially after the year we've had. This has been a tough year. So let me show you. I always like to show you guys the ingredient list. And let me see if I can find this in my show here quickly. We talk about what are the severe weather ingredients. Rick, I mentioned this a lot. You are a chef. You like to cook, and the ingredients do matter.
They do.
If you have, let's say the recipe calls for salt and a pinch, and you just start pouring on the salt, I mean, you ruin the whole thing. It's got to be done in the right amounts.
You blow out your taste buds. And even more sense to that, it's like baking, for example. Baking is like chemistry. You have to have the right amounts of everything. So let's say you're baking a cake and you don't put sugar in.
Right.
It's going to be disgusting.
I mean, it'll still be a cake.
It's a cake.
Nobody's going to eat it.
No one's going to eat it. Yeah. It'll be plastic. I mean, yeah, so we want to have all these ingredients in the right amounts and also overlapping. I think that's, sometimes you can have good wind energy at this time of the day.
Right.
But the storms aren't there then. And then they arrive during a different part of the day where the winds come down.
Right.
It's important to have all these ingredients at the same time as well.
At the same place, at the same time. We refer to this as juxtaposed.
Correct.
So let's go through each one of these elements briefly here. So to generate severe, we need instability. Instability is generated by warmth and high dew points. And we're going to look at this. Rick, wind energy, we look at it at the surface and we look at it at a loft. There's two types of wind energy. There's where it's all in the same direction.
Speed shear.
And then there's one where it changes direction with height. And tomorrow does show that change direction with height.
It does show more of that directional shear, that twisting as you go up in the atmosphere, which is why the 2% does exist, because we have that twisting, which can help enhance storms. I mean, that twisting alone with some of these supercell storms, that can definitely allow for these storms to rotate. And if that, we get a better updraft, it can support hail a little bit stronger or a little higher, rather, a little bit longer. So hail's going to be a possibility tomorrow. You can also see some of those winds get transported down to the surface. And like we said, there's a small risk for a spin-up tornado here. I think importantly, we're not talking about massive, long track, violent tornadoes. This is not that.
And nobody's saying that either.
And no one's saying that either, but I just want to be completely transparent that
Agreed.
you hear tornado, you kind of, sometimes it's the human instincts where you
Agreed.
assume the worst, but I just want to temper that and just really push that down that it's not going to happen whatsoever.
So wind energy shows some directional change with height, which can impart rotation if paired with fuel. Instability here, and then forcing. When this makes sense, you're not going to get severe thunderstorms if you don't have thunderstorms. So looking around the area, this is Storm View HD. This is pretty quiet around our area, Rick. That area near St. Louis is going to come through overnight tonight. Right. So we're going to talk about wave number 1, which runs into the area tonight. Do we have anything to be concerned about? It did generate some severe in central Missouri today. I think I saw 1 or 2 warnings, but it was not a lot.
It was not a lot.
And looking at the low, I mean, look, I think that if your reaction is that's it, then you're probably looking at the right reaction. I mean, when you look at the low, yeah, it is a low pressure. It is not the most powerful low that we've ever seen, but let me give you just a locator. It is sitting there just north of, let's say, northwest Kansas into the western part of Nebraska, northeast of Denver. That's the low. So a larger perspective shows, at least, Rick, another topic here is that is a buckled and active jet stream.
It is. And that low in LA has it way far south. I mean, the jet stream's going down, and if you've seen the stories coming out of LA, water rescues ongoing, they've been getting slammed. Heavy rain, gusty winds, one of those atmospheric rivers lined up. And that storm is the one we're watching for Friday, Thursday night into Friday specifically.
So the storm we're talking about is central part of the U.S., again, northern Kansas and the western part of Nebraska. So let me just show you what's going on right now. And as we look here, Rick, one of the things you immediately note, let me take those cameras full by the way, is that the dew point. That dew point of 20 is not just low. That's ridiculously low.
That's like your hands start feeling like sandpaper kind of
right.
Low. 50 degrees, your temperature. Again, dew points, we like to have a dew point 65.
Yeah. So that's what we like to see.
If we don't want to see severe weather, but if you want to support severe weather, we are 45 degrees off the threshold.
Well, Rick, maybe that's just wrong. Maybe that's just Louisville. So you know what? We've got a camera network draped across the area. Let's look at E-Town right now. That's a 30. There's something wrong with Louisville and E-Town. We go to Corridon and we can see the dew point right now. 32 degrees. You like that, don't you?
Startled
me. We're going to go to Seymour with a dew point coming in at 24. So, Rick, maybe that warmth is further out as we go into our region. We can see but let me take this a little bit wider and
well, you got Dallas.
I mean, it's in Dallas.
It's in Dallas.
But this would have to be a super strong low pressure to get that from Dallas here.
Correct.
Well, maybe the dew points are rising ahead of where the warmer temperatures are. I mean, we know that fuel is generated by high dew points and warmth.
Keep scratching.
So we have the dew points that are higher along the Gulf Coast. They go to Shreveport. Can they get all the way here tomorrow?
We need a really strong dew point surge in order for that to happen, which would require a strong low pressure.
We don't have. So we know immediately that we now see that there is an issue. There is an issue with the fuel, the instability in this. And it's an interesting one that I like to make the analogy a lot. We've talked about this for years, but the wind energy is the engine.
Mm-hmm.
So I love to use the Corvettes because
we just saw a sweet one out.
We did.
Yeah. So
these are brilliant machines. They're incredibly fast. They have the 500 plus horsepower motor, the engine. Now, if you put the right fuel in that gas tank, that Corvette flies.
It's got a giddy up, yeah.
What happens if you put water in the gas tank? You have a paperweight.
You destroyed it.
You got a paperweight. So this is going to be wind energy, Rick, and I want you to discuss this one. The floor we talk about is around 35 to 40 miles an hour.
Right.
This is at 850 millibars. Explain why this level matters and what it means to Joe Blow at the surface.
So at 850 millibars, scientific term, is basically a mile up in the atmosphere. No one lives a mile up in the atmosphere, but what it is that's the part of the storm where these winds if we get a thunderstorm, can pull that sort of wind energy down to the surface. Now, usually it's not to the exact extent, but we like to have winds of at least 40 miles per hour. And when you get winds north of 40, it can help these storms be organized a little bit better. So, yes, we actually do meet criteria when it comes to winds. Tuesday at 11 a.m., we have 55-mile-per-hour winds in Louisville. Not at the surface, once again, but this is above our heads. So, yes, that is enough wind energy to support storms. And what you need to have is that kind of wind energy paired up with good instability. So, if we had thunderstorms going with high dew points and warmth, then Tuesday, the wind energy is there to support severe storms. We could check that box without a doubt.
And I think you're going to find this one interesting because I previewed a lot of the data when we were looking at it. You mentioned the juxtaposed, being at the same place at the same time. When we look at the wind energy tomorrow, we notice before p.m. it's more robust.
Yep.
And then we notice after 4 p.m. it still meets our floor. It really does, to be clear.
It's close, yeah.
But you can see, though, that it does show more widespread wind energy early on in the day. Now, someone's going to say, what's that in Hardinsburg? That is a convectively driven wind gust. What that means is there's a thunderstorm right over that location, and it's showing slightly higher. But the general around is 40 to 45 to 50-mile-an-hour winds that then tank tomorrow night. So after midnight, important to note, those winds come down. So here's where I'm going to move into what I want to talk a little bit about, and this is fuel. Rick, you and I were talking about fuel a little bit earlier, instability, and there's two kinds of this.
Right. There's surface-based, and then there's elevated. And I think, this is a perfect way. How can you differentiate between the two? So we have surface-based CAPE, and we need to have that energy at the surface for storms to really tap into it, because there's a difference between CAPE here and CAPE here.
So that instability at the surface is what allows thunderstorms to bring that down to here. Rick was talking about the wind energy a mile above the ground. If we have elevated fuel, that means it's going to keep most of that wind energy aloft. If we have that fuel down at the ground, it is the mechanism for the thunderstorm now to take that wind, that rotation down to the ground. So what we need to look at and what is critically important in these scenarios is surface-based fuel. So from here, we are going to take a look at surface-based fuel. So we know that the dew points are low. We know that it's not going to be warm tomorrow. So we would expect the surface-based fuel to be low. Remember, what we do here is not what you see online. I'm not trying to regurgitate weather model data on Facebook to scare you and to bring you to my page to get more likes. What I'm trying to do is, as a meteorologist, as a scientist, as someone that has studied this for 25 years of my life, went to school for 5.5 years to learn this, I want to analyze. I'm going to analyze what I think should happen, and then I'm going to apply science to the data. And that's what we're going to do. So we can see that the fuel at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning is non-existent. Now, we're not showing you the data. We're telling you what we think should happen and then showing you the data. And what we notice is the instability values. Oh, there's some. Rick, there is some instability values at 2 p.m. of 20 reference point. So what is enough? So in the scenario where we have that wind changing direction with height, we've seen if you get 200 to 300, sometimes you can generate severe.
Right.
We've seen with zero rains and maybe some thunder. We know that
you get 200.
Yeah.
Not 20.
Not 20. When we see events, our big event, I'll use March 2nd, 2012, was a 2,500 instability day. What about this spring? We had some days this spring that had about 2 to 25. The Louisville day where Louisville was hit by an EF3, I think was about 1,500, if I recall.
It wasn't above 2. I remember that.
So let's look then. So from here, we're looking at 6 p.m. There's almost nothing in our area, Rick, but there's some in the southern part of Kentucky. There we go.
There it is.
There it is. I see the instability.
Oh.
But it's near Paducah. And it's not in our area, which brings up a really important point here. The Storms Prediction Center's job is to cover any probability of anything. I am a big believer that this marginal has become a crutch. It has become I don't think it's going to happen, but if something does happen, you can't run the headline and say it struck without warning. I get it. I really do. But if we keep throwing that thing out there, and I keep showing that on TV, and Rick keeps showing this on TV, you're under a marginal, and we'll show it to you probably 75 times a year because they're that common. You would probably start to say, I don't believe you anymore because you show me this same graphic every single day and nothing ever happens. And that's why the marginal is garbage. And I feel strongly it should be eliminated from what we do.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Part of our jobs is kind of protect you from getting overloaded with information and nonsense that you don't need to have. That's why we don't show it, because like Mark said, we'd be showing you under a marginal day after day. And at some point, why would you even pay attention to it?
I wouldn't.
I mean, I wouldn't either, honestly.
And that's just the truth.
Yeah, that we actually
Would you
all
show
sat
it
down.
to your wife?
No, absolutely not.
That should tell you a lot.
Because-
If Rick is in charge of protecting his family, and if we're under a marginal, Rick wouldn't tell them because he doesn't believe that
Right.
means anything.
I'd still be wrong either way, just to be perfectly honest, just joking. But anyways, we sat
Alicia
down.
would tell you that Alexa said the different
Alexa, yeah.
forecast.
Don't start with me.
Mia knows
6:20
about Alexa, doesn't she?
6:20 every day. Alexa tells the forecast. Why am I even here? I don't know. It hurts my soul. Anyways, is that you? Yeah, please help me, somebody.
So let's look at the data here, Rick. We've now pieced together a scenario that has wind energy that's adequate for severe, that in fact shows those winds change direction with height, which gives us a little more concern. We know the scenario has virtually no fuel. So science would dictate in that scenario what?
We'd get thunderstorms, but they wouldn't really survive because they would basically collapse on themselves because there's no fuel to keep them going.
So we look at the data here. Remember, we saw a wave overnight tonight that was near St. Louis now. That's the wave that shows up around 4
And
a.m.
dry air is just chewing that apart. I mean, it
Doesn't look impressive.
No, we have to get the dew points to come up. I mean, it's running basically into, you like to say, a sponge,
Dry
you know,
sponge.
beach towel, whatever it may be. It can suck everything up. So you're not going to see much, if any, rainfall coming out. That's going to help saturate things a little bit, but that air is way too dry for those showers to make it all the way down to the surface. And that's what you'll be dealing with tomorrow leaving the house.
And so now you're
Showers.
looking at 7 a.m., temps mid-40s, and you're like, Mark, that's cool. That can't generate severe weather, right? You got it. And the data doesn't show that. The data shows an area of rain coming through around 11 a.m. through noon. Now, Rick, if we had this area of rain coming through around noon, let's use an example in late May. We would still have 6 to 7 hours to recover. Something coming through and not clearing by 1 o'clock. This time of the year, the sun sets at 5. Peak heating's around 3:30. You have 2 hours under cloudy skies to recover the air mass. And as we look at this, the data does show some warmth near Bowling Green to Paducah. And you're like, well, isn't that the area that showed some fuel? You got it. And in Louisville at 3, it's 48.
Yeah.
It's 50 at 5. So look, if somebody's going to say to us, well, Rick, you taught me that cool does not generate organized severe weather.
You got it.
Exactly. So let's look then through the evening. The data shows this second wave. We know that the wind energy would be highest in the morning, Rick, but we know it's cold. Could we get a gusty shower? Sure. Is it impossible to get a severe thunderstorm? It's highly unlikely.
There may be some tiny hail because some of that elevated cape that's out there.
Yes.
Can't rule some of that out. But it's really important. Since we get 2 waves during the day, one late morning and another one during the evening, there's not a lot of time for things to get back in organization, to get the atmosphere recovered. And sunset, I think it's like 5:20. So this is already after sunset, which means the fuel is coming down.
And it's not even really that windy tomorrow. It's not even breezy, so you don't have the wind to keep the temperatures up at night.
That's good. That's a very good point too.
So and then lastly, Rick, you can very clearly see in the data that the winds south of that warm front have veered to the southwest, which takes away a huge amount of that directional wind shear.
Which is the more dangerous one. So we're not seeing things come together.
They're not. And what you see is a gusty area showers coming through. It's not going to generate organized severe in Louisville. And the likelihood of a tornado at 55 degrees in Louisville is extremely low. If you're to see anything, the data hints that this might not be out of the question in areas like Munfordville,
Right.
maybe Litchfield,
Litchfield, Short Creek,
yeah,
down around there. I mean, this is far extreme
Columbia,
southwestern portions of our
Campbellsville,
area. Yeah, I mean, just
Greensburg.
because you
But
look at
even
future
then, it just
radar,
looked terrible.
it doesn't look good. And by us saying it doesn't look good, that's good for you.
So we'll come back to this. 5% chance of severe goes all the way through Madison. Look, it's a low end, so let me just say that.
Yeah.
But it's not drawn right. It's just not. I'm not saying that there should even be a 5%, but if you're going to argue the 5%, I think you've got to argue that, Rick, probably south of Louisville, maybe through around Campbellsville.
Right.
I think taking that north of Louisville at 55 is just it's not 0, but it's not 5%.
No. I mean, you got to look at I always feel like when you look at these, you got to look at different locations and how you delineate who should be under what. And the conditions in Louisville are not even close to the same when you look at areas like Litchfield.
Right. It's 10 degrees warmer.
It's just not. And that warm front is, I mean, we say warm fronts are the worst, but that cuts directly along warmth on one side, cooler on the other. If you're not on the southern side of that warm front, you're not going to get storms that are severe. It's just not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
So the 5% even should be further south. The 2% includes Louisville. I would argue it should not include Louisville. If I'm drawing this right now, I probably draw it through just south of Hardinsburg. I come south of E-Town and maybe include the southern part of our area. But the reality here is I don't even believe necessarily that this meets criteria for a 2%, and it definitely doesn't meet criteria for organized. So I just want to lastly go through this one more time on the timing, because this is one of the things we get asked the most. So look at the top right part of your screen. As you look at the top right part of your screen, you'll see the time there. I'm going to pull us back a little just so you can see that more. This is 9 a.m. This area is rain and showers moving across the area. Rick, the time, if we were to watch, the time for southern Indiana is probably 5, 6, 7.
Mm-hmm.
Louisville is probably 6, 7, 8. And then you can follow this down into the southern part of our area.
8, 9, 10, 11. After 11, shut the window down.
So that gives you a conceptual model of the timing where you live. This gives you a conceptual model of what we think. Does this meet the criteria for a marginal? I don't even think we should have them. You know, what happened here to me is the Storms Prediction Center is looking at this, saying there's some directional wind shear. I don't think there's going to be a tornado tomorrow. But if there is, let me just go ahead and throw a 2% out there. That way, if there is a rogue one, I will be covered. What I'm going to tell you is look at this the other way. There's a 98% chance that you would not tomorrow. Rick, if we were to see one of these rogue tornadoes, as you noted earlier, this is not the kind of thing that can last long.
No, it can't. And that's the thing, too. It's when you saw the circle, the area that SPC highlighted, they could have made that so much smaller, too. And it's like, I don't know in terms of the effort what's going on there, but it just seems like we're getting these broad brush circles of locations. And
we had one on Friday.
We had a severe risk along and south of the Western Kentucky Bluegrass Parkway.
It was a slight, and that's organized severe.
And that's organized, and we barely even had rain and storms there because it was all based on the secondary front, which never really survived the trip beyond the river. So yeah, I watching that one, I was like, this one's not going to do it, and that's a level above what we're talking about. That was an actual
that's
slight.
Organized severe.
Right.
We show on TV.
I hate the fact that we can have marginals and 2%.
I know.
At the same time, I understand that it's a possibility, but just the likelihood of something like that happening, it just seems like communication isn't the goal anymore. It's
so we come back to this. I'll let you say it. For me, I don't think that this should be under a risk. I think that I'm not saying it's impossible, but if we're gonna start to risk everything that even has the tiniest probability, you're gonna go under risk 75 days a year, and you're gonna call us morons, and you would be right to do that because in the end of this, people cancel plans. When you say there's a tornado probability, you know that there's gonna be people that cancel plans. And second, weather anxiety is real. You and I see this a lot in what we do. Why do that to people when it's not really necessary?
No, I 100% agree with you. And the people who have storm anxiety, I know personally a bunch of them. And it's every time there's a severe weather risk, anytime, doesn't matter if it's low or high, it's like a light switch. It's not something that, you know, I feel this way because it's this level. It's like you hear about it, and there's no really, okay, how do I act? What should I do? There's a severe risk, and then it goes blank. It's just they hear severe, and unfortunately, because of past events, you may be scarred, or maybe your family's been through something traumatic when it comes to weather, and you can't let that stuff go. It stays with you the rest of your life. So I completely understand where you're coming from and why you feel that way. So hopefully with us being here, what we can do,
and that's the point of the video.
Yeah, just help you to just take a deep breath, calm down, and realize that this is not worth getting worked up over.
So from here, one of the unique things about the Facebook Live, the YouTube Live, and the X Live is you can ask questions. That's what this really, one of the main things that this has become, is that you have the ability to ask us some questions on what you think. So from here, just a reminder, you can still share the video, bring some people in if they want to see the Q&A. I know that there are a lot of people that enjoy the Q&A because, quite frankly, people just want to ask about my town. Is it going to happen in my town? And that's cool to do. So let's open it up to some questions here. Jalen is saying, I'm one of those people that have a little weather anxiety. And that's one of the things that, you know, the compassionate side of me understands. I do see it. I've done far too many surveys and seen things that I'll never be able to unsee. And so I get it. But understand, we're here for you guys regardless. And in the end of all of this, that's what Rick and I do for a living. We talk about this a lot. This job that we do takes a lot. It requires a lot of hours, and sometimes it takes us away from things that we would like to be doing with friends, family, elsewhere. But there is, Rick, a sense of you just want to be there when people need you. Yeah. That I think if you choose this as a profession, you never can get away from that.
I think it's just kind of a common denominator, the DNA of not only me, of you, of Jude and Bryce. Like, we just want to help.
Yeah.
And that's something that we all share. And that's why the mission, we all have the same, perspective on how things should be approached, what we can do. And that way, when there is something that's really bad, you'll actually listen and maybe act, because
and that's what I'm always scared of.
And that's what we want too. I mean, we could go through heat, flash flooding, the certain things that, claim more lives, and it doesn't matter what it is. Any single one, it's just tough for us to sleep after, crazy tragic events, because, it's a piece of us, and we dedicate so much time and so much energy into all of this. So really, that's our goal here. I just saw actually a comment. What's this?
So
one?
let's go through a couple of questions here, Rick.
Actually,
Ricky
this
is
one
asking
from
about
Erica.
Carrollton. Okay.
I heard Carrollton.
I'll answer that while you look for that one. I'm going to go through Ricky from Carrollton. What time? Ricky, if you were to see severe, I'm going to say between 6 and 8. It's an extremely low probability. Let me also answer. There was one other, I believe it was Melody, that asked about Radcliffe. I wouldn't put you in the 2%. I put it just to your south. But if you were to see strong or severe, I'm going to put it to 8 to 10. You found the question?
Yeah. It wasn't a question. It was a statement.
Oh. It
said, Mark Weinberg, the facial hair looked great on you.
So do you grow a vacation beard?
Nothing. I mean, I wouldn't call it a beard.
What would you call it?
Scruff. It's an embarrassment of a beard. Something. It's just patchy. All right. It's the best I can do.
I start to look like Santa now. So if I grow the
you're
beard,
like Tim Allen, you're the Santa Claus.
So I do actually enjoy the vacation beard. I was scuba diving. I don't know if I've told you this, but when I scuba dive, because when I get to the vacation, my face is normally still pretty fairly well shaved. By the end, the beards kind of come in, and the mask starts to leak more. The mask starts to leak more, so I have to kind of crank it a little bit so that water doesn't get in. But yeah, this is the professional non Santa Claus Mark Weinberg.
Yeah,
so.
we're glad to have him back after a couple of weeks, and he's shown me a couple of videos. There's some cool stuff that he's going to be sharing with you in the coming days.
If you've never seen an octopus,
that one.
The octopus video is going to blow your mind. The turtle videos I got are really good. We got some video of spotted moray out in the open. I did night diving, so I saw, I'm going to say a 10 to 12 foot shark. Of course, I got video of crab, lobster out in the open. Had a Mexican standoff with a
Oh,
shark as
that's
well. We were kind of seeing who was going to move first. I was the one that moved first, but
you were
so
his territory.
I was in his territory at night. So yeah, so I'll be showing you guys more video when things quiet down here just a little bit. Let's see. So someone on YouTube, Adam just said, I'll have to rewatch the stream. How far into the stream do you break down the analysis? Good one. A good question from Adam. Adam, we go through, I'm going to say about 15 minutes in is when we really start to dive into the core of this. So that is when you'd want to go back to. Another question here coming in from YouTube. This is from Crispy. If the data that you have showing nearly no risk based on ingredients, what is SPC seeing to put the 2% out? I'm going to take that one, Rick, because that kind of is something that is a big deal to me. So I think SPC is seeing the exact same thing we're seeing. I think that they know that this is not any chance of being anything that is a legitimate severe threat. I think they know full well that there may be no warnings tomorrow in our area. What I think they're doing is I think that they realize that with this marginal that's been developed, that they can't be wrong. So if they say there's a 2% chance of a tornado and you don't see one, you're going to say with a 2%, I didn't expect to see one anyways. They're right. If you get a 2% and it actually produces a tornado, you can't say, well, this was nobody said this could happen. They're going to be right either way. The marginal has become this opportunity to not make a forecast, to not make a stand, to not be definitive. And I think that it leads to complacency, it leads to overwarning and an over push of things that could happen. And unfortunately, when you tell people that there could be a tornado so many times, eventually, in my opinion, when the bad one happens, you're not going to listen. And we know statistically that virtually almost all of the fatalities from tornadoes occur in the EF2 plus category. What we need as meteorologists in the weather enterprise is when there could be EF2 plus tornadoes, we need you to take those days very seriously because your life is in danger.
Absolutely.
We know that. And our approach is to make sure that when your life is in danger, that when we tell you that it's time to be alert, that those are the days you're going to take action. That's the reason why we don't like the marginal. That is the answer on that one.
I got another one coming from Felicia.
Okay.
Felicia is in Mount Washington. What to expect? So, Felicia, what I'm going to do is give you the breakdown here for you. There will be some showers during the morning, okay? And what I'm doing now is looking at the latest run of the HRRR computer model. This is high resolution.
Cheater.
And I'm trying to get it right here.
I'm messing with you.
I know. So this is 1 to 2. You will get a line of non-severe thunderstorms, lightning, maybe some tiny hail, but more importantly, non-severe. And there's going to be waves. That will be wave number 1. And then there may be a little bit of a break around, let's say that's 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. Still some downpours roaming around, but that secondary line, if you're talking about Shepherdsville, doesn't show up until that 7. This is 8 to 9 p.m. And that's when you could see the potential for a stronger storm with perhaps some gustier winds. But like Mark and I had alluded to, at that point, we don't have the same directional shear, which means straight line winds more of an issue perhaps. But I don't even think that's going to be much of an issue because the fuel's just not there, which means you'll get some heavy rain. You'll hear the rumbles of thunder, maybe a gust of wind or two. I don't think you'll see any more than that, especially talking about Mount Washington, which if you live in, let's say, Shepherdsville, if you live in Fern Creek, if you're, anywhere nearby Radcliffe, it looks very similar in terms of basically the spatial ingredients that we have available. So I wouldn't be concerned. Just be mindful that there's going to be a couple waves of storms coming through.
And I think when we look at that high-res data, we're both looking at it for what it's worth. You really have to go to probably near the parkways and south to get any legitimate surface space. In full transparency, the data does show some rotation. If there's no surface-based fuel, you can still get rotation. Normally, it's a loft. And normally, it never makes it down to the ground. And I'm just going to look at the temperatures in Louisville in the high-res stuff. It shows us peak in the afternoon in Louisville at 48 degrees. It shows at 7 p.m. 48 degrees, and it peaks us around 52. What it does show are temperatures like in Litchfield, in Munfordville, closer to 70. But as Rick noted, and Rick, I assume you're looking at the same thing I am, those winds hard veer post around 0Z or after around 7, which means your ability to rotate those storms is going to come down. It just doesn't look like everything's in the right place at the right time.
It doesn't. And that second batch of storms is just moving in. It's on approach during that time.
So it's cool that we have the ability to obviously watch video or look at the data and when we're live in the video. Somebody from Felicia is saying thank you on that. Joshua is saying, asking, is Salem on the border of a tornado watch? Do I think tomorrow would get a tornado watch? I cannot conceivably see any way that we get a tornado watch tomorrow. If there is anything that's severe, more than likely the Storms Prediction Center would highlight that area with a discussion saying that the chance of a tornado watch is 5% or less is what they would probably write, and allow the Weather Service to deal with those if it gets to the point that anything would need to be warned.
And I do want to echo the lines that Mark drew on some of these SPC graphics with the new data coming in. I mean, it almost spot on. Grayson County, Hart County, Greene are the only ones that really have any valuable surface-based Cape, which goes back to the previous forecast. You want to rewind the video. Mark drew some lines on where he thinks the areas are compared to what's drawn by SPC, and it looks spot on, Mark.
And the problem is that we would expect that line, because it's overnight and this isn't a powerful low, that the forcing may be weakening as well. It just doesn't look like a lot of things are going well for this one. So Deb is asking, out of Orange County, Indiana, is it possible to get a strong thunderstorm? Absolutely. Is it impossible to get a tornado? It's not impossible. But I wouldn't put it at 2%. I would put it even lower than that. I don't think it meets that level.
You're on the north side of that front, which is not a favorable spot to getting in strong
the 40s. I mean, if you get a tornado north of a warm front in the 40s, I mean, look, I'm not saying it's impossible. It is just, it would be it's crazy anomaly.
Freakish event, correct.
And the winds are not even really ultimately that supportive. You know, the irony of looking at this data, Rick, as I was going through it, is it shows these rotation, a little rotation swath. If you look at where it shows it north of the river and when it's showing it in the 6, 7, 8 o'clock time, it's showing northerly winds. It's showing northerly winds where it's showing the rotation. It literally makes no sense.
How do you get that?
It makes absolutely
no sense.
It makes no sense at all. So those things will get posted online. They always do. And we're going to be getting more data in, and that's one of the beauties. The 3 kilometer NAM, by the way, is coming in, Rick, right now, and it doesn't show that fuel getting past Evansville. It shows the surface-based fuel not getting into the land
farther
between
south
the lakes.
And west.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in terms of rotation potential, in there, it literally it has nothing. It has absolutely zilch. There are models out there. There are tools. People ask me a lot, you know, why are these models good, bad, whatever. I've worked on cars since I was 16. I do, you know, I've done turbos in cars. I've done axles. I've done suspension. I've done a clutch, done drive shaft. I've put turbo parts in like an intercooler. I've done engine work, done high pressure fuel pump, low pressure fuel pump. Anyways, all these tools that I have in the toolbox, they're specific. Like I can't use one tool to do everything. And all of these weather models that we have, Rick, are nice tools, but it's not a one-stop shop. It's not one tool fits all. We utilize the tools that make the most sense. And in fact, what we show on TV, and even in this video, are what we believe. We don't blindly show end-day computer models. If the end days computer model is right, we'll show it.
Right.
But the end days model, we see these end of days runs all the time that are just not real. And they, you know, we see a lot in hurricane season where people show these Cat 5s making landfall in 6 months, and it's like, what? I mean,
I will say I'm thankful that the hurricane season is shut down, because that was getting pretty old showing up on social media. November 30th is when it officially ends. We're almost to the official end, but I mean,
we're at the official end.
We're at the official end just based on the atmospheric conditions. There's no way that's going to happen.
Somebody asked about Louisville. Blake saying, what does Louisville look like tomorrow? I'm going to give that one to you, Rick.
Sure. So Louisville itself, I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I'm going to just go over to some of the new data coming in, because that will give me an even more precise time. Louisville, we'll start at 7. You're leaving the house. There are some scattered showers. There is still, again, this 2-wave scenario. So here we are at noon. I would say noon to 1 is when Louisville gets in on this first wave of thunderstorms. Again, not severe, but there will be lightning. It may contain some tiny hail that kind of pings off your car if you are traveling. And if you're going to lunch, then you want to have the rain gear. And if you don't even use it tomorrow, trust me, there are other chances lined up later this week.
Yes, there are.
That first wave comes down. This is 3 o'clock, which keeps some scattered showers and storms around. And then we see a drier period. I wouldn't say completely dry, but fewer showers once we approach the 5 o'clock drive home. And then in Louisville, right around, this is 7, 8. So let's say 7 to 9 is when that next batch moves in, around 8 or so. If we get a stronger storm, it would be from that one for some gustier winds. Once again, without the fuel, this thing is not going to be able to really generate hardly even strong storms. So we could get some SPSs, special weather statements out there, but I really doubt that your phone goes off and you look at it and Louisville will say, oh, we're under severe thunderstorm warning. That's just not going to happen given the conditions that we have today.
We'll go down to our last 3 questions of the night. I'm not going to count this as a question, but somebody asked if we would go live tomorrow. The answer is yes, if necessary. Absolutely. Somebody's saying that they just moved here. Laura's saying, I just moved here from Western Oklahoma. Interestingly, Laura, I'm not sure how old you are, but if you were in Western Oklahoma, you may have watched me on TV. I started my career in Lawton, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So I worked in Lawton, Oklahoma from 1999 to 2001. And she says she's now in Scottsburg. So I know your area quite well, where you came from. Number one, we appreciate you following us here. Obviously, we've got expertise since we have meteorologists out of your area, so we will be watching you. For Scottsburg, honestly, the chance of a tornado is very, very low. I say it's 0? No, but I'd put it under 1%. It would have to be a really tough one. So that's question number 1. I'm going to give this one to you. This will be question number 2, Rick. Kathy out of Greensburg is asking about hail probability.
Hail probability is 5%, Kathy. It's a very low probability. Could you see hail? Sure. But do I think it's the severe hail, which is 1 inch in diameter or larger? I would say most likely not. So you may get some peas, maybe some dime-sized hail, but I wouldn't expect anything that's large enough to do any damage to your car, to your home, or anything like that. So that hopefully answers your question.
And this is going to be the third and last question here of the night. Faith is asking about Salem, Indiana. So in Salem, Indiana, number 1, there'll be an area of rain and thunderstorms that come through probably mid-morning tomorrow, and then something that comes through in the evening. Could it be severe? It's not impossible. Is it likely? Absolutely not. Does it, in my opinion, meet the criteria for organized severe weather? Not even close. Not even, and I wouldn't even put it under the marginal. I would note that a thunderstorm is possible, some gusty winds, and I would watch in your area between 5 and 7 or 8 p.m. I think that would be the end, and that would be then show over on that. So a reminder, if you are joining Rick DeLuca or me on Facebook, please share the video, because remember, even after the video comes to an end, your friends, your family can come back in and watch the video and scroll through whatever part they want. Number 2, if you don't follow Rick DeLuca on Facebook, one of his 25,000 followers, by the way, congrats, man.
Thank you.
Head over to Rick's page. Please click like. He might be in here while I'm on TV tomorrow, so if you wanted to watch and this is convenient, you would be able to, and you'll get an alert when we would go live tomorrow. And lastly, we're going to go through more with a fine-tooth comb. We're going to spend a lot more time on this high-res data, and we're going to be updating you. I'll be on WDRB News at 10 o'clock, top of the hour, 10:22 and 10:37, discussing both tomorrow and Friday, which does have some signs of strong storms. Yeah. And then Rick's going to be on at 11 and again at 11:17-ish. So hopefully those times work in with you guys. We will have more lives here. If you don't follow us, this is a good way to do it. Lives are going to be a part of what we do. We're going to be doing a lot of these through winter, through storm season, and you'll see us a lot. You'll be able to ask questions.
And that way you get the updates too, the notification that we're going live, because sometimes you may not even notice, but if you follow us, then the notification pops up and you won't miss it. That's really the best opportunity for you.
So if you guys follow, you get the notification. So we'll be on WDRB News at 10, WDRB News at 11. Please support us, watch us on TV, and look for the lives tomorrow. Hopefully you guys have a good understanding of what the data currently indicates, and we will update you based on what the late data shows a little bit later tonight. So we'll see you guys on TV in about 40 minutes.